Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The beach is packed as temperatures peak, but could the hottest place in the region actually be here?
I've got two fans going, but it's like really wipes it out of you.
If you're planning to get away for some sunshine, be warned, Gatwick is cutting flights in July and August to cope with staff shortages.
Also tonight, things are hotting up on the track as a new force in electric motorsport comes to Canterbury.
And there is change on the way, but for many, the heat isn't quite done with us just yet. I'll be here later with all the details.
Good evening. It's been the hottest day of the year today, and people across the region have been making the most of the weather or trying to keep cool.
Thousands headed for the Kent and Sussex coast and packed out the local parks. It was a glorious day, but a potentially dangerous one as well, with a level 3 heat alert and a busy ambulance service and hospitals. From Brighton, here's James Dunham.
The sea of brollies on Brighton Beach suggested people seeking sunshine were doing so safely as the southeast sweltered in this unusually hot weather. Lifeguards were looking out not just over the cool blue water, but for sunburnt redness from those radiated by the strong rays.
We've had a couple of sunstrokes already this year, so it's really important people look after themselves, cover up, put a hat on, get in the shade, put the sun cream on.
Do you think there's a tendency for people to underestimate the power of the sun?
Absolutely, especially when we get that sea breeze coming in. It feels a bit cooler, you don't realise you're burning, but when you get off the beach and you get home and you look at the burns, it's there. It's, and keep hydrated. Again, people forget about that hydration, it's so important.
As temperatures exceeded 30 degrees inland, the coast provided an enticing opportunity for those searching for something a little more bearable.
We came from London to get away from the extreme heat. It's like 10 degrees hotter there, so this is perfect.
We've come down from Hertfordshire, so yeah, lovely to be here in Brighton, obviously spend the day on the beach. A lot more refreshing than back home.
We've just been on holiday, we've been away, so we've got all of our sun cream and everything ready. So we've been plastering it on today, and then we're going to head over in for some lunch, probably, not in the sun. So yeah, stay out of the heat for a bit.
And how does this fella mind it over there?
Yeah, we've got lots of water for him, going to get him in the shade soon, but he's doing all right so far.
I like how you can go in the sea all the time and you can just go on loads of holidays.
We are swimming and we're supposed to go deeper and deeper.
Wow. And is it quite nice to be in the water? I've come up to the lifeguard watchtower just to give you a sense of how busy the beach is. From pier to pier, thousands of people are packed onto the pebbles, and of course with so many people here today, it's going to be a bumper day for businesses. With the weather sunny side up, the kitchen staff at the Buccaneer were trying not to fry.
As you can see, I've got the shorts on, but yeah, no, it's incredibly hot. I've got two fans going, but it's like really wipes it out of you.
But at least you're not going to get sunburned.
Yes, that's true. The front of house has to wear sunscreen.
On Kingston Hill near Lewes, precautions were being taken too. Summer getting the walk in early this morning, the prospect of the midday heat too much for her. Tomorrow, temperatures should dive slightly, with the ambulance service seeing an increase in weather-related calls today. We're being urged to enjoy the heat sensibly and keep cool whatever way we can. James Dunham, ITV News, Brighton.
Gatwick Airport has cut the number of flights it's running this summer in a bid to tackle staff shortages.
It will limit its daily number to 825 in July and 850 in August compared to 900 in previous years. Kit Bradshaw is at Gatwick this evening with details of how flights are affected.
What bosses here have effectively concluded is that given all the disruption we've seen in recent weeks, they can't cope with the level of flights they plan for over the coming months. So they've taken action, and what they've done is effectively axe 50 to 75 services from their schedules by imposing a lower cap than they would normally have over the summer. And that's going to affect July and August. The hope is that by acting now, they can allow airlines and baggage handling companies, which are struggling so much with severe staff shortages, to plan a more predictable and reliable service. And one travel expert agrees.
Although we've seen reports of flight chaos and passengers losing their holidays, it's not going to be like that at all. This is simply trying to build some resilience back into the system. On Thursday, we saw all kinds of chaos with dozens of flights cancelled, some of them at the very last moment. This is designed to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Now, the airline with the most landing slots here is EasyJet. The company has told me this evening that they're still assessing what this new capacity cap will mean for its operations, but they're confident that they will be able to reaccommodate the majority of passengers on other flights. But everyone is being asked to be in contact with their airlines over the coming weeks about the impact on their services and disruption. And some passengers I've spoken to who have bookings in July and August aren't reassured by the messages coming from their airlines. They say this decision throws up more questions.
How early in advance are they going to let travelers know? Because while it would be disappointing in any case to find out about a cancellation, I'd prefer to find out now, with 5 weeks to go. Even though making an alternative plan may be impossible, I can't imagine anything more heartbreaking than to go to the airport and then somehow have to try and explain to your kids and family that, we're not going anywhere, because then at that point, you've lost all flexibility to make another plan.
Another development we got today was news of a death of a passenger earlier this week at the terminal. It happened on Wednesday. The passenger had been on an EasyJet flight and they required special assistance getting from the plane to the terminal building. Gatwick Airport says that a member of staff was helping a number of passengers who needed assistance from that plane when the individual in question was injured. Those injuries proved fatal. An investigation into exactly the cause is underway.
Kit Bradshaw reporting there. Next tonight, bird keepers are being warned to stick to strict biosecurity measures to contain bird flu after a case was confirmed in Bexhill. Restrictions to keep birds inside were lifted back in May, but DEFRA says private and commercial keepers should try to reduce contact between domestic and wild birds.
A robber arrested after stealing an Amazon delivery van in Canterbury has been jailed for 3 years. Police body cam footage shows the moment they located Ronnie Mead surrounded by packages. At first, he claimed he'd found the parcels in the street but could not explain why he was also in possession of a wallet belonging to the driver of the van. He later admitted robbery and possession of cannabis.
Low morale, understaffing and an undervalued workforce have been blamed for poor emergency treatment times in the South East. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine says the latest NHS England figures show that a third of A&E patients waited more than 4 hours to be seen in May, while 1,100 waited for 12 hours or more. It says burnt-out staff are doing their absolute best.
The government has launched an advertising campaign to deter asylum seekers from crossing the channel in small boats. The adverts will run on Facebook and Instagram from today until August. They'll be translated into several different languages, warning of the risks of attempting the crossing.
The government has scrapped plans to build a border facility in Dover to check on goods imported from the EU. The area in Guston, north of Dover, was earmarked as a site to carry out control checks post-Brexit. The government says existing facilities have enough capacity, and axing the project will save around £120 million.
A mother whose son died falling from a harbour wall at Ramsgate met with MPs today in her fight for urgent improvements to support services for children with special needs.
13-year-old Sammy Alban Stanley, who had autism, was found dead in 2020. He'd made repeated attempts to harm himself but was classed as low risk of self-harm or suicide. Glenn Thompson spoke to his mother.
Patricia Alban Stanley has been calling for greater help and assistance for families with special needs children since she lost her own son 2 years ago. The mother from Ramsgate has taken her plea to government by holding a meeting with 30 MPs and peers. She's demanding changes to the special needs and disability system and says the overarching issue is accountability.
At the moment, it's left to parents to hold the local authorities to account, which is virtually impossible. You're talking tribunals, judicial review, you need to fund that, and it's very complex law. For example, Sammy was out of school for over 13 months. We simply could not get him his education, which was on our doorstep here.
There is wide criticism that the current system is failing many families, a process that pits health, education and social care authorities against each other and a child's family. Today's parliamentary consultation was well received, and a green paper is open for consultation until next month.
There are things in that which we welcome, and there are things in that worry us, and we're concerned they may actually make things worse. What we hope from today's event is that we've raised the profile of that with parliamentarians, and they'll be really committed to pressuring government and working with government to make sure these reforms deliver what they're supposed to reform.
Tell us about Sammy. What sort of a boy was he?
He was absolutely wonderful. He knew everyone in this community. People would wave at him. He was so popular and so loved and open, such a pure soul. He made my life multidimensional. He brought something and people were uplifted by him.
Sammy had autism and a rare genetic condition known as Prader-Willi syndrome and often had suicidal tendencies. Tragically, the 13-year-old died after falling from a harbour wall in Ramsgate in 2020. The coroner who conducted the inquest into his death concluded that more needs to be done at a regional and national level to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. The Department of Education say every death is a tragedy, and we take the concerns outlined in the coroner's reports seriously. We know the system of SEND support is inconsistent for too many young people, which is why we currently are consulting on how to transform it. For Patricia, the fight for a better and more caring system continues. Glenn Tomset, ITV News, Ramsgate.
Pest controllers have begun removing a large bee colony that's been living in the roof of a woman's council flat for more than 5 years. Charlotte Down from Canterbury says the bees have been making her life a misery. Last year her daughter was badly stung. Canterbury City Council has apologised for the delay.
A Free Kent newspaper that's just celebrated its 25th anniversary has gone into liquidation. At its height, the Downs Mail, which covers Maidstone and Morling, distributed 88,000 copies across 5 local titles, but it's struggled to recover after the pandemic.
A shortage of European grape pickers in Kent and Sussex could have a devastating effect on this year's wine harvest in the autumn. A South East recruitment firm which supports many of the region's vineyards says it needs to find local workers because of the effects of Brexit. The harvest runs from mid to late September for about 3 weeks. You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thank you so much for watching us. Coming up,
we're looking at the shift to plant-based lunches in our schools and asking what pupils think of it.
And with temperatures soaring into the 30s, it's been the warmest spell of weather since August 2020. But the weekend's forecast isn't plain sailing. I'll have all the details.
And remember, you can get all the news from across the South East by heading to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, the numbers on your screen now. It's 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us, that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Now, electric is a word that doesn't always sit well with motorsport fans, but that could all change this weekend at Kent's Liddon Hill racetrack.
Yes, Nitro Rallycross is kicking off its international tour. It's a brand new American sport that has attracted some of the world's best drivers to take part, including former F1 champion Jenson Button.
Well, they'll be taking to the track in a groundbreaking battery-powered car which has the equivalent of 1,000 brake horsepower. Here's Joe Caution.
That fly, tracks that thrill. That's Nitro Rallycross's mission statement, and it certainly lives up to it. Drivers from around the globe have arrived at a new look Liddon Hill near Canterbury to start their new World Championship.
First race of our international expansion to be at the birthplace of Rallycross at Liddon Hill. 1967 Rallycross started here, and in 2022 the next evolution of Rallycross is going to kick off.
People locally don't realise how iconic this is around the world. So this is a US-based business, have come to where it all started. And we've embraced that here. We've embraced it by developing the track to be more exciting to watch for the public and more exciting for the drivers to drive. So we believe we've improved it and made it a wow to come, and you just got to see it to believe it.
It hopes to be a disruptive new force in motorsport, combining the intensity of rallycross with the big air thrills from Nitro Circus, a stunt show that travelled the globe with its creator, American stuntman Travis Pastrana.
At the end of the day, we figured out with Nitro Circus how to entertain the crowd. I figured if we can entertain them and we can have fun racing, it's the best of both worlds. Basically built for an audience like me, an ADHD audience, want to see the action, and after a couple laps, everything kind of sorts itself out, and you have good racing that continues, but we have to make it exciting. We have to make it something that the crowd wants to come out and watch. So we added some jumps, we added some Talladega like NASCAR turns, and the racing's just been awesome.
Putting excitement and electric in the same sentence, though, is almost unheard of.
Hold the foot flat and shift it and you're good to go.
But the sport hopes its new sustainable series will change that, as I found out pretty quickly. So Fraser has kindly agreed to take me for a spin in the brand new FC1X electric rallycross car, which is making its debut in the series this weekend. When you hear the word electric, you think it can't be that fast, can it? Let's find out.
And the good thing is, it's electric, so I get to hear you scream. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Oh, well, ready.
0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds makes the FC1X faster than an F1 car. Blink and you'll miss the straights. Combine it with a track that has stomach-turning jumps and hang-on-for-dear-life corners, and you're in for quite the ride. Nitro Rallycross is high adrenaline and hopes to be an entertaining watch this weekend. And it will be.
Right. Yeah, well, I can't thank you for that because that was horrific.
As long as you're not the one in the passenger seat. Joe Caution, ITV News, Lidenhill.
Wow.
I mean, well done to Joe, because I'm never doing that, just so that we're clear now.
No. No, don't worry, we won't let you do that.
Good.
We need you back here.
He can do it. I'm not
He can. Matt's not doing it, nor am I. Now, schools across the region are being urged to go plant-based at lunchtimes to reduce their carbon footprint and raise awareness of alternatives to meat and dairy.
Well, it was rumoured that the government would make vegan options compulsory on school menus in their new food strategy, but it wasn't included in the document published earlier this week.
Though many schools have already started a trend of shifting to plant-based menus. Here's Nick Smith.
It's lunchtime at this primary school and there's plenty of tasty options to choose from. But look closely and you'll see there isn't an animal product in sight. This kitchen offers daily vegan options for pupils, and one day a week the entire menu is meat-free. The kids here have welcomed the idea.
My favourite is the wrap. It tastes like really good to try. Even if you just do it once a week, it makes a difference, like an impact on the environment.
My favourite meal is the sweet potato curry. I really like it because I really like sweet potato.
Every single day now we have a vegan and vegetarian menu for all of our children to choose, plus the Tuesday, which is our Save the Planet Day. And the children more and more now, as they get used to the food and enjoying the food and enjoying the taste of it, are choosing even on those other days to have the plant-based menus.
In fact, food awareness group ProVeg UK estimates more than 5 million school meals have been entirely plant-based in the last 6 months across the country, and they're hoping to double that by the end of the year. Parents we spoke to in Brighton broadly support more vegan options on school menus.
If it's good, nutritious vegan meals, definitely, why not?
My son goes to nursery, he's not at school age yet. They get really good options there, so I think they do get meat and non-meat and vegan and vegetarian.
As long as you have those options that you can offer to the student, the kids, and I think it's a better way to go.
Despite a growing number of families opting for plant-based diets, schools are still not compelled to have a vegan option, with the Department for Education saying head teachers, governors and caterers are best placed to make decisions on what to offer children. The Vegan Society has launched a petition to change this, saying veganism is a protected characteristic which should be catered for, and that it can have wider benefits for non-vegan children.
It's just something that the more we bring it into menus and the more we implement it, the more it will just become the norm. I think it's going to get even better as more people invest in plant-based options, and the children are going to benefit from that. And at the end of the day, it's better for them, better for the animals and better for the planet. And so after a while, I think when they do understand that, they learn to prefer that.
But are wholly plant-based meals offering a truly balanced diet for children? One nutritional expert says schools considering exploring these options need to stick to strict guidelines.
So it's very important that, we abide by these regulations, and, where we are taking meat and dairy out, we need to be actually looking at alternatives. So if we are taking, for example, red meat, especially beef, which has got the highest impact on environment, then we need to be thinking of lentils, chickpeas, pulses, legumes, and replacing, red meat with that. Every time that we take something out, we need to be putting something back in.
The government's new food strategy seems to have held off on calls to make vegan options mandatory, for now at least. But as more and more schools take their own decisions to move to plant-based menus, a revolution in pupils' lunch trays could already be well underway. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Now, the ITV Evening News is on after us, of course. With the details this evening, here's Charlene White.
Coming up, is your summer holiday in trouble? Gatwick Airport becomes the first to cut flights to deal with the ongoing travel issues. We'll have the latest on what it could mean for you. A weather warning still in place as parts of the country bake in temperatures topping 30 degrees and... Why Eurovision could now be held here next year, but the question is, where? Join us for those stories and much more from 6:30.
Charlene, thank you. Now, thousands of people are watering their lawns and flower beds this evening after a scorching day, with more of the same to come for many of us.
And at Hever Castle and Gardens in Kent, the watering regime is especially challenging. The visitor attraction is gearing up for its biggest horticultural event, Hever in Bloom, and that means there are 5,000 roses that need protecting from the sun. With more, here's Andy Dickinson.
Roses are red, pink, yellow, practically all the colours of the rainbow here at Hever Castle. But as the mercury hits levels rarely seen in June, all hands are at the pump to make sure they don't go dry.
I have to be honest, it's not easy. We kind of make sure we water, especially in high temperatures for the roses. Normally they look after themselves, but in extreme temperatures you have to water them. So we put on our our sprinklers first thing in the morning or last thing at night. So you don't really want to water in the middle of the day. The sun is very strong, you can scorch and damage the leaves, and more importantly, most of the water that you'll be putting on the garden will just be evaporating, so it's a waste.
All the water here is coming from the moat and the lake, recycling rainwater on a massive scale. But as global temperatures increase, we're being asked to do the same, recycling our domestic water from around the home. Even the sprinkler is fed by the lake, following a circuit laid down by William Astor when he designed the gardens 120 years ago. While perhaps we too look back to our grandparents' methods of keeping our homes in bloom.
Bath water, water from pasta and vegetables is a great thing that people don't actually really think about sometimes. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to use bath water with any salts or perfumes or shampoos, just make sure you water around the base of the plant itself so it doesn't scorch the leaf. But there's plenty of creative ways that you can use within your own household. So before you tip it down the drain, just think about it.
Of course, for those of us who don't have gardens, well, we can just sit back, relax and bask in the colours of someone else's. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Hever.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
That I will do, just so we're clear. Just not the racing. Well, we couldn't let today pass without sending Holly out and about to talk about the weather. It's been so beautiful out there. Holly, where you are, it looks absolutely stunning.
Oh, it certainly is. In fact, I'm going to get out of the way and just let you enjoy the scenery for a minute, because I've had a very hard look and I can't spot a single cloud in the sky. There's a bit of a breeze here. It's basically beautiful. And just so many people are out and about enjoying this lovely weather and enjoying the sunshine.
So, Holly, that's where you park your boat, but are temperatures where they should have been today?
not far off. So I was talking about a potential for 33 degrees. We ended up getting 32 at Wisley and Surrey and 30 degrees on the nose at East Malling in Kent. Just for fun, let's take a look at some of the places we were hotter than today. So hotter than parts of Florida, hotter than parts of Croatia. Casablanca there at the bottom of the list, looking positively chilly in the mid-20s. Where we haven't been hotter than notably is France and Spain. They are having their own heat wave at the moment. They're into the low 40s. In fact, parts of France are seeing the hottest temperatures they've ever seen this early in the season. And of course, that building heat across the continent is the very reason that we're seeing this hot weather for today as it's flowed its way up across the channel.
It's been a little bit breezy today. We can actually see on those pictures just behind you as well. Is that taken the edge off the temperatures?
It has a little bit. It's actually quite a welcome breeze there. I think it's why it feels so nice here, although I know some people will be struggling in this heat. Actually, the breeze just makes it feel that bit more pleasant. And yes, it's physically the reason. So when you get still conditions, the heat sits next to the surface, temperatures rise. But when you get a breeze, it tends to mix the air up. And yes, that's why perhaps we didn't get as high as we might have done in an air mass as hot and humid as this. But let's take a look at the all-important weekend forecast.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Not an entirely straightforward picture into the weekend. To start with, we hang on to this heat. So I think through Saturday, still feeling very warm. But we have got a cold front approaching, which starts to bring the potential for some showers and some cooler conditions as the weekend wears on. I think on Saturday, we'll find the winds picking up as the day goes on. We could see some thundery showers later. Turning very windy, actually, unseasonably so on Saturday night, and then Sunday, a cooler feel with showers in the mix. So the bigger picture shows us what's going on. We've got this very warm air still pumping up from France and Spain. That's with us at the moment as we head into tomorrow. But this cold front is the feature we're watching, and that brings this change as we head through the weekend. So for this evening, well, it's lovely out there, lots of sunshine. It still feels very warm. It is a bit on the breezy side. As we head through tonight, that breeze tends to ease down, but it stays very warm. It stays very humid, a tricky one, I think, for sleeping. Some of us perhaps not dropping much below around 17 or 18 Celsius, say. So as we push into tomorrow, it will be warm from the off. As I say, still this very warm air with us. You can see to the northwest thickening cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain. We could possibly see a bit of that, but it's more likely as we head towards the tail end of the day that we could perhaps see some thundery showers. The wind strengthening as the day goes on. For tomorrow, the highest temperatures actually into the south coast, but it does, as I say, turn windy through the day, particularly into Saturday night. And then the outlook, that change in type for Sunday, look at that drop in temperatures, showers around as well. Some sunshine into next week, but temperatures much more typical for the time of year.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Now, pollen levels have been very high in recent days, including today. A little bit of a let-up, I think, into the coming days, but I suspect we'll see a return to very high conditions for next week. Have a good evening.
And that is it from us for the time being. In a moment, the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
From all the team here, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend and keep your cool. See you Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.